course, and I have read an article about the centre back. It was quite good. I wanted to ask you, staying with that topic, like since now you have like Van Dijk being injured for, I don't know, like I don't think so. There's a time limit that has been quoted for his comeback, and also Fabinho on himself suffering injuries. Do you think Liverpool will spend heavily on proven centre backs, or will we see some shoot signings, or will we see some more players from the academy being promoted in January?
Well, do you know what? I've been trying to find out the answer to the kind of those questions since Van Dijk was hurt a couple of weeks back, and Liverpool's stance has been that it's too soon to say what they will do in January. That Klopp has great belief in the young players that are coming through. I think, of course, Reece Williams looks like he's at the head of that queue at the moment. Having watched him every week, really, back in probably 2 seasons ago when Liverpool won the FA Youth Cup. I can't say I'm massively surprised at how well he's done, because I thought then he was a star in the making. But of course, it's all well and good to do it a couple, play well a few times in games when Liverpool aren't under big pressure. It's a whole different animal to expect him to perform week in, week out on the biggest of stages against, especially when you get to the business end of the season and, there could be titles on the line. There could be, Champions League quarterfinals, semis on the line. So personally, I think Liverpool will have to go and sign a centre-back in January. I just don't see how they can get through to the end of the season without doing that. Now, Liverpool would say, well, January is not a great time to buy. Availability isn't great, and if to try and prize a decent centre half away from a team in January, you're probably having to pay a premium. And as we know, money is thin on the ground in the because of the pandemic. I think it was no great surprise that the 2 big deals that Liverpool did in the summer, both of them for Thiago and for Jota, involved very little upfront payments. And those payment structures were key to Liverpool being able to sign them. So it's not like suddenly there's going to be 40, 50, 60 million available to go and splash on a defender in January. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. And I just think it's probably too soon to say, because there's various names been bandied around, and I know that they've looked at Kabak, they've looked at Upamecano. Of course, they'd heavily scouted Ben White at Brighton, but I think the issue there is probably going to be price, because I think Leeds were prepared to pay up to 30 million for him, and Brighton refused to sell. And you think, so you're probably talking 40, 45 million for Ben White, and I just think you're going to get much better value if you dipped into the Bundesliga compared to that. Connor Cody's another name that's been bandied around, but that there's like an emotional side to that, of course, with him being a lifelong Liverpool fan and an ex-academy player. But I don't think he would be a particularly great fit, because he plays in a back 3 at Wolves. I don't think style-wise it's a great fit. And then the other key thing I think is what's going to happen with Joel Matip, because unfortunately Joel Matip, it doesn't seem like you can really count on him to stay fit for an extended period, because he came back obviously for the Merseyside derby. He's missed the 3 games since. Klopp didn't seem too sure the other night whether he'd be back for the next couple of games either. So yeah, I think everything points to Liverpool having to do some business in January, and then the decision will have to be, obviously, do they go for a real frontline centre back and try and be creative with some kind of payment plan and structure of the deal, or do they go down the route of a Ragnar Klavan style, kind of more of a short-term fix? But I think it's more likely they would go for someone who would do a job in the longer term, just because I think I look at the centre-back options in that squad, and I don't think you're just buying a player to cover till Van Dijk comes back. I actually just think the squad needs another really classy centre-back who can play an integral part, because although Fabinho can play centre-back, I want to see him in that holding midfield role. We're waiting to find out exactly how long Fabinho will be out. Hopefully it'll just be a few weeks, but I just think although he can play centre-back, you then really miss his presence in midfield.